Oh, we have no intro outro video,
Oh,
Shaun, today.
you have to sing the opening countdown music.
Oh my goodness. How can you tell I've been away for 2 weeks? My brain is fried.
I came in this morning and my internet was out, and I'm like, oh no. And then I got on the call an hour before this was supposed to go live. I'm like, where is everyone? By everyone, I mean you. And I'm like, okay, I got the time
Nobody's
wrong.
here to play today.
I know.
I I'm absolutely brain. So you know that I spoke twice and then trained once last week, and between power outages and fires and rooms not working and getting stuck in an elevator, it was quite a week. I'm happy to be home.
We need an update because all this sounds exciting and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Do you know it was so cool the one event there was 80 leaders, and I was so impressed. It was the first time I have ever presented at a conference or been part of a conference where no one was sitting outside in the couches. Everybody was inside listening, taking notes.
That's incredible.
I've
That's
never
on
seen that.
it's uncommon, but it's incredible too.
Right? Very, very, very uncommon. And so we're going to pull a little bit of this part today because everything you and I speak about, we coach, we keynote, we train, is all about these pieces that we're showing here. And this is part of the segment 1.9 in the beginning part of that identity arc of Build the Human. And so this kind of just is a little bit of an introduction to everything that we talk about. And there's something that we seem to forget. And I think it's more important, even more so now with AI, with what's going on,
Mhm.
with people missing their identity and who they are, that only thing that's separating your business and your life is a dash. It really is. That's the only thing that's separating it. Because people talk about work-life balance all the time, and I have my opinion, and you have your opinion. So I'd love your opinion about that saying of work-life balance.
I think it is a fantasy. I mean anyone that truly worked, and I mean obviously unless you're working in a factory where you clock in and clock out, there's
Mhm.
no way to not have overlap in that.
Right?
And there's an unhealthy balance leaning one way, or the other, right? One's going to
Mhm.
suffer if you go too far. But the idea is that you are your business. Your life is part of your business too. Your business is part of your life. And anyone that starts to create content, you'll start to see this when you start to talk about real life experiences that you've had in your business content. People lean in, right? People
Right?
come into the room. They don't sit out on the couches because
Right?
that's the part that they resonate with,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
the human element.
It is. Everyone talks about, educate or do that. There's this combination of things that you need to do. But you are so right. And you and I do a lot of background work. We're kind of the Aussies in the background to a lot of people. And as soon as that personal story is told, we convince them to tell their personal story.
Hmm.
We watch the metrics. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a client this week who is taking a coaching program, and he was explaining who this coach was. And it wasn't even 2 minutes into telling me that he said, did you know that he went through this life experience? He
Right.
did, like, this happened to him in the past. Had no connection to what the business is, but now that was the connection point. It's like, I get this coach. Like, this is the person I want to work with. Right. So
Yeah.
it's those elements.
Yeah. Right. Do I like you? Do I trust you? And can you help me right now?
That's right. Have you been through a fire? Have you felt the heat? Right. Do you got the scorch marks? Like,
Right.
that's
It's exactly. And it's funny how when I've been out traveling, I talked to hundreds of people this last week, and everyone's sitting in a plateau. So it's really funny and interesting. And my email is getting a lot bombarded with, hey, this type of special, that type of special, because things usually slow down in the summertime.
mhm.
So people are kind of looking at plateaus and they're wondering why this is happening and what's going on. So kind of sitting on their laurels. So I believe plateaus are a leadership problem. And when you have your own business, you're the leader, right? So when we look at this whole thing and saying plateaus are leadership problems and leadership problems are always identity problems. So it's never the time of year, it's never the competition, it's never your tech stack or any of that. It's you. What are your thoughts when I say that?
Absolutely. I mean, I agree 100% with that. A lot of times, when things slow down, you tend to hear people blaming outside elements,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's just that time of year. It's,
Yeah.
it's the industry. It's whatever. I used to think that too. In the marketing space, it was like, well, summertime's a slow time. Um, it's not. Um, right? It's just you need to still stay relevant in those times, and even if it is like a holiday season, right? The Christmas season, people take time off work, but that's the time that people have extra time to think about their business, to think about their
Mhm.
lives, right? So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I love your side of this too.
My side on this one is it's this funny thing of we think when we're in business we have to sell, sell, sell.
Hmm.
And that's all we do, right? Is we're going to sell this, we're going to sell that. We don't think about the off time. So like you said, the seasonality. So when people are taking time off the family during summertime or Christmas time or holiday time, that's your time too to do some reflect, do some building, do some pieces because there's seasonality. It's 100% seasonality. But we have to get out of this mind of this producing creative world that we're always in all the time. And it's that whole part of, and you've heard me say, always be the buyer. And so when I look at leadership problems and plateau and identity problems, that big identity problem, I think it is that we're acting as the seller, not the buyer.
Hmm.
Right. So when you and I started our working together, I bought into you and you bought into me. And we changed this whole conversation about instead of, let's just try and negotiate something here, there, everywhere and get this done as quickly as possible. There was this long process. And I have a saying of hire slow, fire fast. And that's with yourself, that's with your ideas, that's with your planning, with everything that you do. What do you think of that one? Hire slow, fire fast.
I mean, I've seen large companies do this.
Yeah.
Early on in my automation career, I worked with I got certified with a software out of Arizona. Was
Mhm.
Infusionsoft back then, now Keep.
Yep.
But one thing that stood out to me was just hearing their internal process of everybody that you met there. Like, they were great people, and
Yeah.
they resonated with the small business market, which was who they were targeting. But when you went down to their office and you heard how they do it, and I don't know the exact framework, but the idea was, after about a month or 2 months, they make you a financial offer to quit, right? And
Mm.
it was like if you want to leave, if you don't feel as fit, like, we'll pay you to leave, kind of thing. And it's a quick out. And the reason for that is the people that are the right fit for their office, their ecosystem, everything,
Yeah.
that offer doesn't even appeal to them,
No.
right? So that was something like a quick out that was
Yeah.
there, and that's how they figured out how that is. And a lot of times you see companies that there's people that stick around, and it's either a leadership issue where they're scared to fire them, maybe, you know and it's doing more damage to the other team. Like, you've got large turnover. Like,
Mhm.
who's the virus in that business that's causing that to do it, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the leader, right?
It is.
Sometimes it's the head, right?
Yeah.
And it's just they sit up on their golden throne, and they don't ever come down to be part of it, right?
Right?
I love that show, Undercover Boss, right? And you see, like, the CEOs come and actually, like, hear the stories, and how not only does it transform the business, but it transforms their life too,
Right?
right?
Again, it's build the human, right? Build
Yeah.
the human being. It's that part of the identity of how you show up. And one of the keynotes that I was doing there is the new leader's very young, extremely young. And it's a very funny, interesting thing. And you and I deal with it a lot too. There's completely different energy that happens when you're a leader of a founder company, so a brand new company,
Hmm.
and then you're a leader of a generational company, right? So it's two totally different dynamics. So there's like all this creative, happy energy at the beginning when you're a founder energy. And
Hmm.
there's this also this protection of your empire. But when you're now a leader of a generational empire, it becomes completely different. Like it's absolutely different. And you have to be so solid in who you are as a human being.
Hmm.
for everything else, right? That identity work of before the plan, before the blueprint, before the teams, the individuals that you're now responsible for, like who are you?
Hmm.
Because there's a saying that I love from Brene Brown, and I always laugh that people say I'd be the love child if Brene Brown and Gary Vee had a baby, and but clear is kind and unclear is unkind. And
Hmm.
it's one of the biggest pieces that I keep with me all the time of we're afraid now, especially now, to have these big conversations and again step back to that human element that everyone's looking for. It,
Absolutely.
it's difficult. It really
Hmm.
is. So being that clear is kind, sitting down and saying, we have a plateau and you are in a plateau, and every business across Canada, US, everywhere in the world hits a plateau because that is the signal for growth,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
our
There's certainly
identifier.
certain ceilings you're going to hit. And when you hit those points, there's new challenges.
There really is, right? So John Maxwell calls it the lid. And so when you first enter in, you're producing a lot, you're doing all that work. When you become a producer and then you are um, promoted into a leadership role or promoted and opening up your own business, whichever way you want to look at it, but in that higher end entrepreneur or entrepreneur role, it's very interesting again too of okay, you're going to hit a lid. And the only person that can lift that lid is yourself. Won't be me. It can't be you. It can't be any coaching program or anything. That lid and that energy has to change for you to lift that lid. Right. And it's
Hmm.
completely different energy that got you into that seat, into that place that you are, your business or that promotion. You got to kind of park that energy and you got to actually look at the next part that you got to do. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think it's really big that people just we just need to have this honest conversation about it, right? Because a lot of people think when they hit a plateau that they're behind, that they're missing something, that they've failed. My gosh, how many times have I hit a plateau and I'm going, oh, Shaun, I need my 8-minute phone call because nobody likes me, everybody hates me, I'm going to eat some greasy grimy worms,
And
right?
the behavioral thing that happens is when you hit that plateau, you start to look at others around you. They'd be like, and you always think they're on the other side of that plateau, and you're like, why are they there and I'm
Ah,
not there, right? And then you're comparing
yeah,
yourself, and that's a
yeah.
the toxic, bad place to be.
It's so horrible. It's there's something I'm learning and starting to do a lot more because so much of our business is on our phones. I've been on my phone a lot, and that is not healthy for me. Every time, like I have this realization, but I notice that pattern. If I'm on my phone a lot, I know I'm at a plateau
Hmm.
and I identify that piece. So then I do the comparativitis and all that kind of stuff of what does he have, she have, and all that kind of stuff. And then I get mean. I'm going, oh my gosh, they're so dumb. They're the reason why there's Velcro shoes. Right? You start doing all this horrible, horrible dialogue that starts to happen. And so it's that whole part of notice and recognize your habits when you are starting to spiral. That usually means you're at a plateau and you're not behind, you're just at an intersection, you're at a point of inflection.
I know that guy.
Hey, he's a cool dude.
We go
It's
to
one
the
of my
same
favorite.
hairdresser.
It's one of my favorite guys. I love that picture of you. I really do. The man, the myth, the legend. That's my other favorite picture of you. Or when you came running into my office just like Kramer and
That's right.
almost took out my whole entire cabinet. It was awesome. I still have to post that one day. Leaders build systems that outlast speed. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit. And this is when both of my keynotes this last week. And this really resonated with a lot of people because speed is tactics, speed is reaction, speed is trends, right? That's speed. Speed is producing selling. But when you start building systems, and what a greater guy to talk about this with than the automate system dude,
Hmm.
when you start building systems off of what you've learned, off of your identity, off of your conversations, it completely starts to outlast everything because you've got this foundation. And so we're working on a couple of projects together right now. And it's even the one gentleman we have down in Pennsylvania, right? We did the Jenga quiz, and we've done a couple other things. And we want to do everything, and he wants to do everything so quickly, but it's hard. We have to build, test. So can you talk about that part about when you're building a filter or a funnel or a quiz or something?
Mhm.
Talk about the system and the order of operations and how important that is.
Yeah, I mean, the system has to be the foundation. And when you build the proper system and design it right, you can plug it into anything. So, whether you're doing, a new webinar or you're doing a course or anything like that, your stuff that you're building, it all has to easily integrate into that. And where you see this go wrong is where people start to build their architecture, or they're building their CRM, whatever, without any plan in place, right? So they're going in and they're creating something it's like a solo island that's there, and they're creating tags, they're doing this stuff, and then they make something later, and then it interferes with the thing that they broke because it was never done in a systematic approach, right? It's the same thing as, when you get a prescription, right?
Mhm.
The pharmacist's role in that is to be like, are you on anything else? Do you have any other conditions? Is it going to interfere with that? Right? Can you take this safely? And that's the
Yeah.
same thing we need to look at. This is, what is it that is in the roadmap? Whether you're making it now, and the plan is, okay, in 2 years, 3 years, we're going to be doing this. We need to know that and think of that, because we're going to have to build for that expansion that's in there. And some of the initial things we do in any system that an existing client has is, what do you have in place now for naming, tags, for naming files, for naming folders, because that essentially becomes clarity for your team. Like, if you can't look at any part of your system and know what that thing is, or anybody in your team, then it's not clear, right?
Yeah.
It's not kind, right?
Yes.
So that's the idea, is, taking the time to document workflows. So when anybody comes in, even down the road, and goes into the builder, things are noted in there. So nothing's labeled as untitled, right? Which is my biggest pet peeve. If you go and you create something, it's like, you know 15 untitled campaigns, you're like, what is this for? So now I have to dive into it and try to figure it out. So that's the idea, is you build that proper system, and it carries across to, non-technical things too, like how do you meet with clients, how do you speak, how do you answer the phone, how do you follow up, like all that stuff is the system.
Yeah. Even everything I have is a system. And it's very funny because everyone, when you hit a plateau, you don't have a system. It's a big tell that you don't have a
Mhm.
system, that things are not organized, that there isn't any forethought, and you haven't played the movie through. So there's a couple of scenarios that I love of, even, we're about to work with someone who built a whole CRM system themselves. And then we went and built the client, the identity, the presentations, all this stuff. And now we have to rip apart the CRM that they just did and built to fit into what we've done before. And it's painful. It's absolutely painful. And the expectations of having something done quickly, doesn't happen because you have to disassemble everything
Mhm.
before you do. So everyone always thinks it's assembly required, and I'm building and building and building. And I love working with you because we have that same mindset of, how many times have you had a system update on your phone or your computer or everything? And it's just, we keep patching on top and on top and on top, and it becomes a big mess. So strip it down if you've got it built already, and then build it the right way, right?
Mhm.
That disassembly is so important, because really, when you're building a system into, and I've heard you say this so many times, what's your client experience look like? Who is your client? Where do they hang out? What do they do? What are their habits? All that stuff. And we can figure that out by that unique value proposition we do of, who are they? Right? How do you talk to them? Where do you address them? Where do you find them? Who came to you for advice, taken your set advice, applied your set advice, and had the desired results? And then when you answer that, we ask, okay, where did you meet them? How did you find them? What did that introduction look like?
Mhm.
How did you stay in touch? That tells you how to build the operating system
Absolutely.
completely, right? So people think that this beginning part is wooey wishy and all that kind of stuff, and it's not. It's so important right now, especially even with this world of automation. Everyone's automating their confusion, and they're also, I want to call it slop, AI slop, but
Yeah, I'm glad you said AI, because that idea of documenting and knowing how you do things and how you talk about things, and all that, that's stuff that you training your AI so that anything it creates is applying it against that. Even if you tell it like compare this or analyze what I'm asking you to do against our standard processes,
Yeah.
it's smart enough to be like, this is actually too far off of scope, and we'll come back to you that way.
Yeah.
Because those documents are key and critical. Like we need to build that evolving brain within our company, the digital brain that
Yeah.
grows with you, and that's where your AI is working with you.
Yeah.
And it's, I just
Yeah.
finished recording a podcast before we hopped on here about that idea of AI is really going to shine in more of the process and productivity side, more so than just creating content.
That's so I wish everybody, again, when something's new and it's fun and you're creating whatever, you can create some cool stuff and you're just playing around. It's almost like Christmas morning, right? You got a new toy and you keep flicking it and flicking it and all that, and mom and dad are yelling, "Can you stop doing that?" Right? So we're in this fun wonderment time.
Hmm.
But it really is productivity. It's a product. It's not to replace the human content or the human conversations. And that's where a lot of people are getting confused, saying, I'm going to let it write for me. I'm going to let it create this PDF. I'm going to let it do all this stuff. It will not work if you don't do all that big work that we do in the beginning. Like right now, our services are more important
Hmm.
than ever, right? I love this question. So we talk about find the I, find the calm a lot. And within our whole entire big work blueprint that we do, there is the first part of the portal, which is kind of the find the I. And in here's that question. I hate this one and I love this one. Who are you before what you do? So no titles, no credentials, no production numbers, no awards, no rankings, no trips I've earned, no past. I was the number 4 of a $663 billion company. All this stuff is who are you and what's left when you strip all that away,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one, right?
Hmm.
So when you can answer this question and you find out who you are and what you stand for, that doom scroll, that comparatitis, that whole entire part where you're at a plateau or your plateaus are a lot less, or you can get through that gap quicker when you can bounce back to understanding who you are. Because there's that big conversation about, start with your why or what's your why. And that's a nicety and that's a generic. We need to go right down to the human, like you're part of the team, you're a working genius. And I think that when you understand this question, you no longer lead from your last win or that last, whatever the heck it may be, last viral post or everything. That's just part of the process when you actually know who you are before what you do. You
Hmm.
ever ask yourself this question?
I have never asked myself that question. I had a client
Mhm.
ask me that question
Yeah.
when it was around like core values and things. And, we're all
Mhm.
human. And sometimes, the things that you say you are and want to be, you don't always hit the mark on it.
Yeah.
Um, and he had a great analogy of, and he does a lot in crisis management, is that true leaders are like a tea bag, right? Like when the water gets hot, it's what comes out in there that's the true part of it.
Yeah.
And that's the other part, is when you're hitting a plateau, you're feeling stressed, and
Yeah.
that's the part you need to stay true to, that core of who you are.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, you hear that, what's your origin story and where did you come out? Like, where did you grow up and all that kind of stuff. And, if you've been through, any type of counseling on a personal level too, it all comes back to your upbringing and all those little things that you're not aware of until you're aware of them.
Mhm.
It's how it comes out. And, you can be the most, on paper organized person, but, when it comes to actually looking at it, let's say a system, you're not organized there. And I see that all the time. Is it's, it takes effort to think through this. And when they go through the big work with you and they see it come back to them, they're like, that's what I've been trying to do for years, right? But
Right?
there's a block there, right? And it's not a problem that it's like they failed. It's just they're not wired to think the way that you do. They're not wired to think the way that I do from a system side of things, right? They're wired to think who they are, and they need the help to get to that.
Right?
They know what
And
they want. You just don't know how to
yeah.
get there.
And they're afraid to say it. It's amazing too, and especially when I have a room full of women.
Hmm.
So the first group was mixed, and then the second group was a room full of women, female leaders, and nobody could answer this question because they felt guilty. They felt guilty, and I'm going, why? Right? We're taught that that's selfish, and all those pieces, and I'm going, oh my goodness. Like I call critical illness insurance part of the world that we're in. I call it selfish insurance. Like it's so important because especially when you're a leader and you're a business owner, we're afraid to ask for help or someone else take care of us.
Hmm.
Right? So when we have an opportunity to take care of ourselves, we're going to take that first. And that's really kind of interesting to look at, right? And I think it kind of draws into this next question that we go through of what experiences have shaped how you see the world. And, one of my stories was growing up in a broken home. Didn't have the nicest father in the world, didn't take care of us. It was always me, right? I was kind of became the mom at 10 years old, and my mom went out and made the money and all that stuff. So these stories are so, so important. It's that childhood thing. It's that hard chapter in your life that you just talked about, right? It's
Hmm.
that client who broke your heart. It's that failure that taught you more than any win. Those are those experiences that shape you. Wins don't shape you. They don't. They're a reward.
Hmm.
But what are the things that you've had, and you talked about those questions of, where did you come from? My question that I ask is, where did you grow from?
Right.
Where did you grow from? It's a tough one, right?
I saw a graphic on LinkedIn. It was an animated one last night, and it was an animated thing of a guy doing free throws in basketball, and it said where true progress, or was it like true success? And he was taking the shot in the first one, he kept missing it, throwing it over, and the second guy was just like dribbling and then he wouldn't take the shot because he was just wouldn't do it until he knew it was exactly.
Mm,
And I was like, that is such a powerful thing because people are so afraid to actually like take that shot because they want it to always be perfect, right? And that's the idea is I think that when we've all been through crap in our life, and we tend to feel either ashamed of it or scared to share it, or it's like people are going to think I'm a failure because I'm going to talk about this. But that's the stuff, like when you actually start to do it, you'd be so surprised how many people are like they'll come up to you like, I saw what you posted about that, and like, wow, like I've been through that, or so and
mhm,
so's been through that, and now you're at this different level, right? You're not fake, I guess, right? Because
mm,
that's the thing is when things seem too good to be true, they probably are.
yep,
And that's the same thing with people. And we know those people we see online. You're like, you're only seeing the filtered life version of them.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Put them in a room, have them talk. You could see Kelly's little cone behind, oh, a little cone of shame. Poor little girl. Mm. But it's so true, right? It's that part also too of perception is reality, and all that kind of stuff. So that helps you shape, so what happened to you to have you see and how to shape the world? Because it happens with me a lot of, even again, this last week was powerful. People coming up to me saying, can I talk to you? And I see you everywhere. And, so kind of this untouchable icon persona. I'm
Hmm.
going, my gosh, that's the farthest from me. Like, is it okay if I talk to you? Can I do this? Can I do that? Feeling not worthy. It's really interesting where it came from and how to really take a deep look at it. And I can say so many times of, I'm open, take my information. Like, how many times have you given something away for free too, right? You need
Hmm.
help here? I'll help you. I even shared some of you were sharing your client connector, and I sent it to a bunch of non-for-profits.
Hmm.
Probably none of them took you up on it,
No.
right? Yeah, it's really interesting to see and watch. Oh, this is fun for us. Where does your identity end and your performance begin? It's a trap, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Performance is important when you're going to go on a stage, what we're doing right now. You
Hmm.
up it up a level, all that kind of stuff. But is it coming from a place of competence, or are you just performing and regurgitating information?
Right.
Right. And this is the part we see a lot again of, okay, why are you talking about this content that you actually don't have any idea on or experience on? Your niche is someone 5 to 10 years behind you and 5 years forward. That's your expertise and your niche to talk to. So why are you going over and above? That doesn't make sense, because that's when you get in a lot of trouble. But when you can talk and when you're about something you have bought into, people will buy into you. And that pressure, that push, that can you just buy my stuff disappears.
Hmm.
When you show up as your true self, it's really interesting. So what hits you in with this one?
And I think you hit it on the head there, and I see that too, where people, they're a great person, and then when you see them, come on stage or come out in their content, there's such a huge gap there, and
Yeah.
I think the performance side just needs to be, more of a structured identity, right? Like you don't lose your identity, right?
Yeah.
It's just whatever medium you're in.
Yeah.
If you're, somebody who is, very passionate about dogs or whatever, and that's something. I've had a financial client who, like, they brought that right into their whole business, right? Like, bring your dogs in whenever. So, they leaned into that side of it. And I think that we get so caught up on the idea of performing,
Mm.
that it's like, what does the audience want me to be versus who am I and how is that going to help them? Right. um so I see that too. And this is something you have to be aware of, is not, again, when you start to scroll and get into that mindset and you're hitting that plateau, you're now going to start to try to mimic the stuff you see,
Someone
which is
else,
even more of a performance
right?
thing, right? It's like, oh well, if I think they're succeeding because they're doing it this way, I need to do it that way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. It is such that is one of the biggest traps ever, right? Okay, I'm at a plateau. They're doing it this way, so I just got to do that. And you're undoing all your work that you've done before,
Hmm.
because it's a new identity again that you have to perform to. It's a new cadence. You're all nervous. Our wonderful gentleman down in Halifax that was doing the recordings for his VSL, he called and it was lovely, and I'm glad that he came to us. It's wonderful. But it was, should I wear this coat off, coat on, this, that? Should I stand? Should I sit? So part of it's nerves too, right? And you have to have
Hmm.
someone to talk to. But I can say this all the time. So if you're doing any type of marketing, do what feels right and comfortable.
Hmm.
If you need to sit, sit. If you need to stand, stand. My keynote, I had to sit down. My leg was killing me. So I grabbed a stool and I sat down and
Yeah,
I delivered my keynote. And it was raw
absolutely.
and it was real. It's because who
Yeah.
you are, right?
That slide a couple ones back that had me in it with the hoodie on, like when I was getting
Mm,
it, yeah, that one there. So when I was getting into kind of narrowing down in the automation side, I was like, I went and bought a suit jacket at Moore's, like, and everything, and it was like $500. And I was like, oh, but I'm like, that's what I need to appear. And I went and did a photo shoot with it on and everything. I had a t-shirt underneath, but still. And I was like, it just doesn't feel like me, because I would never be wearing that in the day to day, right? And
mm,
also I don't do well with heat, and those things are warm. So I'm like, I'm a hoodie and shorts person. So I went and redid the photo shoot in that, and that has been, and because that's when I go out, people say to me, and I hand them a card with that on, like, it actually looks like you. Like, this
yeah,
is how you show up,
you show
right?
up.
And it's like, realtors are notorious for this. Is you get their headshot photos, and you meet them and you're like, who is this? Right?
Well, even it's so funny too of again our identities and how weird, and this is kind of off topic but on topic of people are even having a hard time finding missing people because we
They're filtered.
glamorize our lives, our headshots, our media so much that what they're relying on to identify this person, what they look like, looks nothing like them.
Hmm.
Nothing like them. So it's so funny how it spreads everywhere. And I'm the same way. My gosh, I've got more $5,000 suits than I'd like to admit, right? But I am comfortable with a loose shirt on and I can move around and I can do things. My days of the suits are done too. I can't. I can't. People do treat you differently. I will honestly say maybe it's a female thing. If I'm not dressed up to the nines, it's different. But it's that whole part two coming back to, if they don't spend the time understanding who you are as a person and your value, Do they like you? Do they know you? Do they trust you? And can you help them right now? Like if
Mhm.
they don't spend that time.
And I think there's a point where you reach that level of trust that that appearance thing isn't as important, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to dress up to impress,
Yeah.
because people are there for who you are. And you look at any big names in any industry. I mean, in the marketing side, like the Gary V's and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and the Alex Hormozzi's,
They are
like they
not
show
inferior.
up, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah. Right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. He walks around with a nose or a nose
the
breather,
nose
almost.
strip, yeah.
Yeah, with it's the running shoes and all that. So it's kind of funny how it's this double standard too, right? So the celebrities are such a great example of the extremes. So even when we're looking at dress, right? They can dress and do whatever they want, like Chris Doe and everything. Like that's their style and that's their part. As long as you're clean, you're put together, and you've embraced it. And I think that's that big difference.
Mhm.
Sometimes people just walk around in their comfies and they look sloppy because they're tired and sloppy. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But if they've got the funky hoodie on and they've got, they're self-presented and they're put well together and they look healthy and they're glowing, love it. Love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, your appearance is part of your brand.
It's part of your brand. My gosh, right? I went to go, like everybody knows, like I go to, put my hair down when I was talking on this weekend. I'm like, it just doesn't feel like me. It doesn't feel comfortable. Whoop,
Mhm.
it goes up, right?
Yep.
What is your superpower and what do you undervalue in yourself? This is that part of when we're frustrated and we're in a room and we're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself in that inner dialogue of, is everybody stupid? Like the answer is this. Why doesn't anybody get it? And that's that superpower that we have when you have that tension against other people and thinking, why can't they realize that? That's your superpower,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
It's so, so big. So we kind of leave it at the door when we're having those thoughts of, I got to better be quiet. I'm going to leave this at the door. I can't talk about it. That's what you need to walk through the door with. Shaun, I heard you were frustrated because you were getting lots of wonderful clients that you wanted to work with, but they didn't know who they were. They didn't know how to communicate to their clients. They didn't know who they wanted to stand for, what their outlook of their business is. Then I would respond to you.
Mhm.
I can help you in these places and those ways, and I can put it together, blah, blah, blah. Those are the parts that you speak to of your superpower of how you see those things. So when you and I work together, I kind of put the architect of everything together, and then I hand it off to you in a show, and we always read through it and walk through it, and then you create amazing things from it.
That's right.
And it's realizing the superpowers.
That's right. You tap the tree, you make the syrup, you hand it to me,
Mhm.
and I cook the pancakes. Sorry, I'm
You,
hungry, and that's
you're,
why food
we're just
stories
sitting.
coming up here.
Do you know that a barrel of maple syrup is worth more than a barrel of oil?
That's great. Did you know? I mean, I think this is factual that Canada has a maple syrup reserve.
Yes, it does.
That's nuts.
Yes, yes. And in Quebec, there was these wonderful criminals that like stole. There was a reserve, and they broke into it, and they had a bunch of barrels of maple syrup sitting, hiding out in the bush somewhere in Quebec. There's millions of dollars worth of maple syrup. Ah, I love Canadians. The eye of the storm. We don't talk about this enough, and I got to start talking about it more. And it's actually very intentional, and this is bringing it all together with branding and what we do. So many times when you see a logo with conversations with two faces, they're always their minds are touching, right? Their foreheads are touching and they're talking to each other. And so when I created the brand for the approach, the faces are facing away from each other, but the minds are connected. So we all have this storm of ideas and thoughts and everything within our brain. We hit it at different times, but we all have this storm of ideas in there. And the calmest place of the storm is the I, the capital I. So I think this is such an important, and why I made my logo this way, because it was even the pink and blue, right?
Mhm.
Masculine, feminine. And when you put those two together, it's purple, which it is in branding colors is royalty and in loyalty. right? And its empire. So it's really interesting on how you put all this, kind of bring your brand and who you are and your identity into what you think. And that logo, even just for myself, is so important because it grounds me and it helps me. And then you become the storm, which is almost it's a biblical term, right?
Hmm.
So people don't understand even on how important a logo is. We think it's just a logo and we're going to go and look done, buy something cheap and easy and AI this. It's really important because it's part of your identity. Again, it helps you understand what it is and the right person will attract. Like people love my hoodies. I get calls all the time of, "Hey Kim, got any hoodies left?" I'm like, "No." I want another hoodie. But I think we really need to kind of look at that. Jocko, do you remember Jocko's speech? Lost the deal? Good. You tired? Good. Right? There's the term good has been out there for a long time. And this is something I want to leave our listeners with because this was also part of my last week too of, like what's your good? People talk about eat good, live good, be good to other people. What's your good? What is it? And I think that's a really important question to stop and look at. So, when you're doing the who are you, right? Who are you at the root of it all? Beyond the titles, beyond those pieces, right? What is your superpower? What built your beliefs? And then just understanding that one thing of what is your good. It's quite an interesting part of building that human first before everything. And that thing we keep working on and helping us through any type of plateau, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna grab a sip.
Calm.
Calm. Everybody thinks it's this, right?
Hmm.
It is not the absence of pressure. It is the presence of a foundation. And so we have the find the eye, find the calm, and it's just a sequential order of operations that everyone goes through and every business in the world goes through. And everyone is somewhere on this map right now. And so what where do you think you are right now?
Um, I'm between the align and lead, more in the lead part of it at the
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
But what stood out to me when you brought this up was, and I never made this connection, is that word mastery. And when people go and look for solutions to problems online, a lot of these courses are like, something mastery, and like that's the thing they're trying to jump right to.
Two.
Right? I need to be the master of this. I need the master of sales. I need the master of this. And they miss those important create, align, and lead parts before they become the master. Right. The Karate Kid idea, right? The
Yeah.
kid is not the master in the
Yeah.
beginning, right? Yeah. You have
Yeah.
to, you have to go through the process.
All these things that and Karate Kid's probably one of the greatest examples ever, right? Because you have to go through all these ridiculous processes to get this muscle memory that
Mm-hmm.
just seems so stupid, right? And then when you are actually shown through that experience of that trained behavior comes out and you just do it like this, there's a
Yeah.
reason behind it, right? There's a
Yeah.
reason behind it.
When you speak to somebody who is really good at sales and overcoming objections, like when you hear them in their zone of genius,
Yeah.
and they're on a call and they're getting objections, like it's just fluid, right?
Yeah.
They've done it enough to get that memory, that muscle memory, and it doesn't feel like, oh, there's an objection, look it up and then just state it back. Like
Mhm.
it just flows so nicely. and
Yeah.
and in that time, like it's really well done. And you meet people that are like that,
Yeah.
and they're not performing, it's just who they are.
Yeah. It really is. That saying I have of know your scripts and master the room. But even when you see someone really good at sales and they handle objections really quickly and you're listening to them, and I was immature before because I'd be listening to them saying, "Why are you answering the objection that way? That's wrong. They're talking about this." But they keep going on that path because I'm seeing something different, and that master salesperson is seeing something different, and they're going away. But you have to realize again, they're sticking to their scripts and mastering the room to their ideal client that they want to have.
Hmm.
That's who they can serve. So they're answering questions that way. So stealing someone else's scripts, mimicking someone else does not make sense unless the ideal client target market is exactly the same,
Absolutely.
right? We forget about that,
Hmm.
right? We forget about that.
And I think there's something to be said here where if you're thinking about being sold to, you've got a different feeling where, the objection over handling for some people is like, I need to get over that so I can sell this to you,
Yeah,
versus the ones that are like, I'm actually going to help you overcome the barrier you're putting in front of yourself because
yeah,
I know what I have is
yeah,
going to help you,
yeah,
right? So that's the idea of when you know that stuff of people that you're talking to are going to put barriers up because they're scared
yeah.
or they're not knowledgeable enough in what it is, so they're going to throw this at you. Your
Hmm.
your goal is to um, really provide clarity to that so that they can feel at ease and actually get to what they actually need that you
Right.
can solve, not sell them something they don't need because you just want to have that check at the end of the day.
Yeah. Again, people can feel it, right? If you have a seller's mentality, they
Mhm.
can feel it. But if you have that honestly buy into what I actually have, I really think it will help you and I will stand beside you with it. You can feel it. You can absolutely feel it, right? So
Mhm.
it's interesting. I'm going to do something bad and I'm going to read. So I want to read this little clip from here because I only wrote it a couple of weeks ago, but I think it pulls it together in such a wonderful way. So I haven't memorized it yet. So create. Create is the beginning. Create is the founder. Create is the moment somebody had an idea and the audacity to build something around it. Create runs on wonder, on imagination, on what if we tried this way. Each company is created. That's a moment before any of you or someone decided this company should even exist. That is founder energy, and it's precious and it's powerful. But here's what every founder eventually learns, and what every generation after has to inherit. Creating alone does not sustain. If you only create, and if all you have is spark and wonder, you will stay a poet. And poets do not run companies.
Ooh, chill moment.
Me like that
Is
one.
that when you drop the mic and walk off stage right there and just let the room like?
I'm gonna do it for all these because this is so neat, right? Because this is my tip of the hat to Carl Jung, right? The
Mhm.
the poet, the soldier, the sage, the king. And we realize that behavioral evolution happens in business just as behavioral evolutions happen in human beings. And here's the one for align structure. And this is that phase that almost all of us skip over. So in life, if we didn't have structure, so divorced family, right, all that kind of stuff, if you didn't have that structure growing up, you're going to have, I don't want to use the word trauma, but you're going to have some difficulties. And that's what you have to overcome.
Mhm.
And every business also has that alignment, like the structure. That's what it all comes down to. You have to organize things and get it there. So here's a line. Your second stage in business that you'll go to is align. Alignment is when your creative gets organized, trained, and structured, when the spark becomes a system. And here's where most leadership development places go wrong because align is usually taught on how to sell better, how to manage better, how to drive better numbers. And I want you to think about this in a different lens. What if we all salespeople were trained our entire careers to actually buy and to sorry, to actually buy. Because here's what selling does selling at its core adds a layer of desperation, even when it's well done. Even when it is polished, that energy of I need you to choose me is somewhere in it and people feel it. So, what if for the rest of your career as a leader, you stopped selling and you started buying? What if every conversation with a new recruit was, I'm buying into who you are and you are buying into who I am? What if every conversation with a team member was, I'm buying into your future and you are buying into mine? And what if every conversation with a client was, we are both buyers and we are evaluating each other for the right fit, not negotiating away pieces of ourselves to win the deal? That is alignment. That is coherent leadership. And when you lead as a buyer, your team also leads as buyers. And that entire culture stops chasing and you start choosing. That's align. Be better if I didn't stumble so much, but I've been talking a lot this week. I love that one. Like I love that.
It's great.
It's a cool one. Like it finally all comes together. And how long? Like, I've been working on this for 6 years, and I want to show everyone that you have a basic foundation of something, and we'll continue. Like, the message is the same. You've been with me for a couple of years.
Hmm.
The message is the same. It just evolves,
Yeah.
right? Stronger, you can organize the words better. So the third stage is lead. Lead is sage. Lead is where wisdom enters the system. And I want to give you a line I think everyone should write down and carry for the rest of the year. Leaders build systems that outlast speed. Speed is reaction. Speed is trends. Speed is whatever the market is doing this quarter. Speed is that email that came in this morning and you are tempted to answer right now. Speed is the world of the producers. Leaders do not run on speed. Leaders run on structure. Leaders build systems that let the next generation move quickly without thinking about what they have already gone through. You cannot lead from reactions. You can only execute from reactions. And every time you mistake the second for the first, you slow yourself and your team down and you burn yourself out. Crazy.
Hmm.
You want the last one, the mastery?
Yeah.
Okay. Fourth stage, mastery. Mastery is the king. Mastery is the authority earned through a sequence, not skipped over by ambition. Exactly what you said. Mastery is not perfection. It is the long, quiet commitment to keep getting better at the thing you are put on this earth to do. And here is what's true about mastery. You cannot fake your way into it. You cannot shortcut it. You cannot perform or you cannot perform mastery. You can only earn it by walking through the sequence of create, align, lead, then mastery in that order. And most leaders in business fail because they try to skip right to the king. They want the authority before they have done the sage work. And your team and your clients feel it even when the leader doesn't. So this is the calm sequence that shows and has to close that gap. So calm is not the absence of pressure, it's the foundation. And every leader in the industry who leads from calm is not less ambitious. They are not less driven or less hungry. They are builders. And the difference shows up in everything they do, in how their team performs when they leave the room, how their clients renew their business, and how the next generation of leaders inside their business get developed, and whether their business they have spent years building will actually outlast them.
I also
Fun.
want to add that I think mastery is not a finish line,
Never,
right? It's not that you don't achieve it and you're done.
never.
Um, a story I had when I first went into marketing automation was the company that I got certified with. You went there, you learned, the level that you're at. You had to do this, it was a whole week long thing. You had to fly to Arizona, spend a week there learning all this automation stuff, write like a 6 hour exam, do these case studies and build out stuff. And it
Mhm.
got marked by a human being. Well, over the years, they went to kind of speeding up that process where if you just did an online course, watched videos and did a multiple choice question, you were certified. And there were like when we did it for the first 4 years, every year you had to do a recertification exam, right? New elements came out, you had to do new scenarios, and again it got marked, and they went away with that. So now you ended up with this flooding of masters of
Right?
people out there that really truly aren't,
Yep.
because it was so minimal. And that's the thing is when you go through this, you're never going to hit a
Mm.
finish line, because everything's changing, people are changing, the world is changing. You
Yeah.
just need to keep up, and it'll become easier for you
Yeah.
to keep up with it. But that's the thing, is this calm, to me, doesn't end. It's a
It
plus,
doesn't.
right?
Yeah.
It's the ongoing part.
It really is. It's that part because even, the rooms that I was in last week, and some people were saying, I've never heard of you before. And again, I've been in the industry for over 30 years, almost 3 decades, right? And again, where you belong, the rooms you're in, all that type of stuff, the right person finds you at the right time, right? When you're ready, the teacher will appear, all of those things that happen. And we have to trust those processes. And to trust that process, you have to trust yourself. So it's so funny that everything, you've been in business for decades. I've been leading business owners and coaching for decades. We've seen this time and time again. AI won't replace it, just like the internet didn't replace it, just like anything else out there, like social media didn't replace it. Before the brand, before the blueprint, there's you, period. And the ones that are going to be taking this understanding, building the human, coming through our courses, working alongside with us or individuals that will help you discover who you are, then you go see the people. I don't care, call it face to face, belly to belly, foot to foot, whatever you want to do, but go see the people and get
Mhm.
out, because the ones that do that now, I think, are the ones that are going to completely dominate. What do you think?
100%.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it's so cool. Any last words before we wrap up for today?
Just keep being you, right?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a really good idea. Okay, we will see you next week. I'm gonna try and get one of our clients to come on and go through our process, and we'll do a little bit of show and tell of their stuff and have them give some input. I'm gonna try and do that and see if I can
That'll be
voluntold one of
fun.
them. Yeah, I
That'll
think
be
it'd be a lot
fun.
of fun to show the process. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Okay. Well, thank you. I missed your face. It is so good to be back and back home and all those wonderful things. And we will see you next week.
All right. We'll see you then.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.